Hello there, and many thanks for joining us on the news and NTA International. I am Abdul Malik Adio. First, the headlines.
These documents represent our intention to be held accountable based on what we have really committed to achieving, and which I am confident we will realize to the glory of God.
House of Representatives launches updated legislative agenda to reflect COVID-19 realities. Second 2020 extraordinary session of ECOWAS Parliament ends with adoption of referrals from ECOWAS Commission in the fight against COVID-19. Plus, U.S. President Donald Trump signs 4 executive orders to cut down prices of prescription of drugs in the United States. Many thanks for staying tuned. Now, motorists are grounding under the heavy traffic along alternative routes on the first day of partial closure of the 3rd Mainland Bridge in Lagos. Dotun Ogunyemi, who monitored the situation, reports that this was due to market activities and commercial buses operations who parked indiscriminately along the route.
It is the first day of the partial closure of the 3rd Mainland Bridge, and already we are seeing signs of defiant motorists who even tried to pass the barricade despite the presence of traffic management personnel as well as security operatives. Their reason is feigning ignorance of the closure notice as well as the alternative routes available.
I went through Ilubirin to Carter Bridge, and then to link to Ijoro Lokpa, as well as Western Avenue. That's quite good. I also went from Carter Bridge. I did a right to Ido, then Oyingbo, to ramp back up to 3rd Mainland Bridge. That's quite good. The only problem that we're having is that I saw a lot of tanker drivers. We'll be talking to the tanker drivers to make sure that they don't approach that bridge until about 10 o'clock.
While the 3rd Mainland Bridge is partially closed, this is what the situation looks like on Carter Bridge going to Ido. Although it is just one of the 3 available alternative routes, a similar situation was reported along other routes.
I think I will employ the government if they can be able to, employ more people on this ferry transportation. You know, maybe people can just be coming from Morocco down to Epitemeta to the ferry. That'll be fine.
As at the time of filing this report, mainland-bound motorists have been allowed passage after 1 p.m. as the barricades at Ilubirin Junction have been removed, while motorists who are island-bound have started using the alternative routes from the Adekunle Junction. In Lagos, Dotun Ogunyemi, NTA News.
Now, the second 2020 extraordinary session of ECOWAS Parliament has ended with the adoption of referrals from ECOWAS Commission and the fight against COVID-19 implementation and community levy recognition of certificate, among others. Onengie Fineface has the details.
Closing activities for the 2020 second extraordinary session of the ECOWAS Parliament commenced with a message of assurance of cooperation for regional development from the President of the ECOWAS Commission.
And we have to recall the need to strengthen interinstitutional cooperation, mobilization of all our respective parliaments to be able to make the necessary support to member states. And the importance is the need to always have in mind the needs, aspirations of the populations, and in drawing up our activities so that we can achieve positive impact on the improvement of living conditions of our population.
Members at plenary debated recommendations from 3 joint committees on the harmonization of specifications on automobile fuel in ECOWAS region, limits of gaseous and particles emissions, strategy for liquefied petroleum gas use, support for research, innovation, space science and technology. The recommendations were adopted alongside referrals for effective implementation of community levy to further strengthen the fight against COVID-19 and achieve regional programs and projects. Speaker Sidi Mohamed Tunis commended ECOWAS COVID-19 champion President Muhammadu Buhari and parliamentarians for contributions towards the growth of the region despite limitations caused by the pandemic.
As we draw the curtains of the 2020 second extraordinary session, let me ask you that our duty as community parliamentarians is not restricted to when we hold meetings or other activities. We remain community members of parliament wherever we find ourselves.
Plenary also received reports from the network of ECOWAS parliamentarians on gender equality and investments in agriculture. Members also resolved to intervene in the security and political tensions in some member states. In Abuja, Onengiye Fineface, NTA News.
Now, government and non-governmental organizations have been reaching out with palliatives to indigents in the society to cushion the negative effect of COVID-19 lockdown. The recent assistance is coming from Rasula Foundation, a non-governmental organization which flagged off a community-based distribution of palliatives in Abuja and its environs. Biangeli Ugoke report.
These are the individuals whose economic well-being is dependent and buoyed on the fringes of formal economy. The economic downturn occasioned by COVID-19 has taken its toll on livelihoods, particularly that of the less privileged. From Pape to Kado and Nyanya communities, the situation we observed is same. Rasula Foundation is providing the much-needed support to cushion the effects of the pandemic through the distribution of food and essential commodities to the needy to rekindle the hope of thousands of the helpless and poor people during the pandemic.
They have been giving a lot of food items to women, remembering us in this very pandemic time.
I'm so happy to see something like this. I'm hearing that they share something like this, but I never use my eyes, see it for the first time. This is my first time of get something like this.
It's a 5-day program targeted at the vulnerables in over 20 communities in Abuja, Lagos, Edo, and other selected states across Nigeria and abroad.
At least in a day, we're reaching up to 2,000, 1,500 to 2,000 a day in Abuja. For the next 6 days, we're going to be doing that. Here in Abuja, we're covering 12 locations.
Rasula Foundation is a local and international non-profitable organization built to alleviate the impact of socio-economic realities across the globe. Obiageli Ugwoke, NTA News.
Now, the Nigerian Television Authority and the National Orientation Agency in Nasarawa State are firming up partnership to ensure local communities continue to stay safe amid increasing cases of COVID-19. Abari Solomon reports.
This information is per the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, LAFIA, and the National Orientation Agency say advocacy to ensure that COVID-19 protocols are observed by the people should continue to be implemented. State Director Priscilla Gondolo acknowledged the role and effort NTA is making towards containing COVID-19, especially in rural communities.
The lifting of lockdown does not in any way indicate the end of COVID-19. And so let us all cooperate with government, the efforts of government. Let us put our hands together. Let us trust what the government is telling us and observe the protocols that have been given to us.
General Manager says NTA is at the forefront in the fight against COVID-19 since its outbreak in the country and will continue with the good work.
Some, do not take these precautionary measures, protocols as very important. Because it's better to safeguard yourself than to have the effect of the pandemic. But to tell you that we are committed to, just tell us, just get across to us, this is what you want to do, and then we'll go with you.
In Lafia, Abari Solomon, NTA News.
Now, the COVID-19 pandemic is compelling global communities to adopt coping mechanisms in what is now referred to as a new normal. Consequently, the House of Representatives has updated its legislative agenda to reflect these realities. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that the document was launched at a retreat in Abuja, the nation's capital.
Tagged our contracts with the Nigerian people, the updated legislative agenda of the 9th House of Representatives is an action plan that will shape the face of legislative functions in keeping with the resolve of meeting the aspirations of citizens. The updated agenda sets out key priority areas which include human capital development, security, education, economy, agriculture for food security, and sustainable power supply. House Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila says this event is for exchange of ideas and to enable lawmakers learn from resource persons the best of options in delivering mandates.
We have called this document a contract because that is what it is. A written account of what we owe the people and how we intend to meet our obligations within the shortest possible time. These documents represent our intention to be held accountable based on what we have freely committed to achieving, and which I am confident we will realize to the glory of God.
Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, calls the retreat a recalibration forum to reposition the Green Chamber for more effective service delivery.
It would be appropriate at this point for me to urge you to draw from your collective wealth of experience and your constitutional powers to chart a course that will take Nigeria to a higher trajectory of development in a sustainable and enduring manner. The challenges are numerous, but the solutions lie in your hands. And Nigerians look up to you for these solutions.
The relaunch featured paper presentations on a variety of topics that highlight the relevance of the legislative arm in the wake of the pandemic. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
And joining me live in the studio to speak further on the House of Representatives update legislative agenda is the Chairman, House Committee on Rules and Business, Abubakar Hassan Fulata. Glad to have you join us on the news at 7.
Thank you very much indeed.
All right then. Now, the House of Representatives has just launched its updated legislative agenda. What makes it different from the one launched less than a year ago?
Yeah, the difference is that this one has been reviewed due to the setbacks we faced due to the coronavirus pandemic.
Indeed.
So we scaled down some of the expectations,
right,
but we are still committed to the main rubrics of the agenda, of the previous agenda.
Right.
We have already lost almost 1 year, so we have only about 3 years left. So that's why we had to review the agenda itself. But we are still committed to the main thematic issues that were raised in the main agenda itself.
Which is?
Education, security, the economy, agriculture, health, and human capital development.
All right, looking at these key areas which you just talked about, which is very, very pertinent, and the fact that, priorities are, they're achievable, going with the ever-changing trends. What is different? What seems to be different with this?
Yeah, we intend to critically look at each sector. Take, for example, the issue of education. Can we continuously produce graduates for civil service, or produce graduates that can self-employ themselves? Can we produce graduates that are permanently waiting to be employed by the civil service, or we are going to train inventors? Take agriculture, for example.
All right.
Now, our agriculture has remained essentially a peasant-based, peasant agriculture. Now, to develop, we must expand into mechanized agriculture with full applications of science. Okay? Now, take security, for example. We have all the armed forces. We have the personnel. We have the human resource. But security itself has been completely digitalized. Okay? You have, for example, someone abducting an individual on the highway and then using the telephone to call the relatives of the victim, asking for money to be paid before he's released. Yet we cannot pinpoint the exact location of those people. These are all the issues dealing with technology. So the security architecture has to be completely revolutionized and changed. So these are all the fundamental issues that we seek to address in the new legislative agenda.
All right, looking at the fact that, the legislature, or the legislative and the executive relationship is key to achieving this kind of roadmap.
Yes.
What is your take as regards, the kind of relationship that the executive and the legislative actually share now?
Yeah, it's cordial. It's cordial, and I want it to be so. The relationship between the legislature and the executive, as it is now, is cordial, especially in view of the fact that majority of the members of the National Assembly are from the same party. We pledged to pursue the same agenda of our respective of our party, right. And therefore there is no basis for disagreement. The Constitution has provided for separation of powers. We are going to observe those separation of powers. We are going to respect our differences, but that does not mean that we are going to constantly quarrel. We are going to jealously guard our differences and respect them.
All right.
And work to promote the interests of Nigeria.
All right. Honorable Abubakar Hassan Fulata, many thanks for coming on the news at 7 and sharing insight to the updated version of the legislative agenda.
Thank you very much indeed.
All right then, you're watching the news on NTA International, and a break is up next. When we come back, there'll be more news, to stay tuned.
We have observed the lockdown. We have practiced the measures in order to curb the spread of the virus, but we can do better. The coronavirus spread is increasing daily, and only together can we cut down the numbers and defeat the spread of the virus. Remember, COVID-19 is not a death sentence, and a recovered patient cannot spread the disease. Do not stigmatize. Do not hesitate to report any case, or if you have come in contact with anybody that has been infected with COVID-19. If you have cough and fever, please stay at home and call your state hotline. Find state numbers at www.covid19.ncdc.gov.ng. Remember, it is for your own good and for the good of every Nigerian. Let us do better and defeat the virus. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
NTA International News. Africa as it is.
And many thanks for staying tuned. Now, there has been more than 15.7 million cases globally and almost 640,000 deaths recorded. Now, according to Johns Hopkins University, as President Donald Trump signs 4 executive orders aimed at cutting down the price of prescription of drugs in the United States. Let's join Uche Ugochukwu for details and COVID-19 global update.
President Donald Trump has signed 4 executive orders aimed at slashing down the price of prescription drugs in the U.S. The measures would allow discounts and importation of cheaper drugs from abroad. President Trump's administration has been criticized for its response for the worsening COVID-19 crisis, as the number of confirmed virus-related deaths in America now tops 145,000. Infections are continuing to surge in India, where almost 100,000 new confirmed cases of the virus have been recorded in just 2 days. The country now has more than 1.3 million confirmed cases of coronavirus, the 3rd highest number of infections in the world. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro says on his Facebook page that he has tested negative more than 2 weeks after contracting the virus. Brazil is the second worst affected country with more than 2.3 million confirmed cases. The world now has 60,087,534 positive cases of COVID-19 with 654,954 deaths and 9,844,403 recoveries, as shown on Worldometer dashboard as of 6:30 p.m. local time. From these figures, Africa has 810,008 total confirmed cases, 462,374 recoveries, and 17,088 deaths. Meanwhile, Nigeria accounts for 39,539 positive cases, 1,559 discharged, and 845 deaths. That's it from here. I am Uche Ugochukwu.
Many thanks for staying tuned. Now, air interdiction mission being conducted by the air component of Operation Adarindaji has yielded more positive results with the destruction of a new camp belonging to the armed gang headed by bandit leader known as Dangote in Zamfara Forest. Now, in a statement, Coordinator, Defense Media Operation, Defense Headquarters, Major General John Neche indicates that airstrike which also resulted in the killing of several armed bandits. The operation was executed on the 23rd of July 2020 after a human intelligence report as well as a series of confirmatory area surveillance mission established that members of the gang, along with their logistic items, motorcycles and hundreds of rustled livestock, had relocated to a new area, a rocky high ground within the forest. The air component therefore dispatched an enhanced force package of the Nigerian Air Force fighter jet and helicopter gunship to attack the location. The attack aircraft engaged the target area, scoring accurate hits and taking out some of the bandits, many of whom fled the location in disarray, were mopped up in the following attacks. Now, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Umar Farouk, condoles the Borno State government and humanitarian communities over the execution of aid workers by Boko Haram. In a statement, the minister says she received with great sadness the news of the killing of 5 humanitarian workers who had earlier been abducted while carrying out the much-needed humanitarian work in the northeast. She described the incident as a great loss to the humanitarian family, the ministry and State Emergency Management Agency, Action Against Hunger, Reach International, and the International Rescue, all of whom lost staff in this dastardly incident. The minister also extends sympathy to the bereaved families and the whole humanitarian community in Nigeria. Now, a Singaporean man has pleaded guilty in the United States, working as an agent in China. This is the latest incident in the growing standoff between Washington, D.C. and Beijing. U.S. officials say Jin Kun-yun, who was charged with using his political consultancy in America as a front to collect information from Chinese intelligence. The U.S. said a Chinese researcher accused of hiding ties to China's military has also been Commissioner of Finance, Kwara State. The president described his passing as saddening. President Muhammadu Buhari, therefore, on behalf of his family and the government and the people of Nigeria, extends heartfelt sympathies and condolences to the governor of Kwara State, Abdurrahman Abdulrazak, and his family, and the Emir of Ilorin, Dr. Sulu Gambari, as well as the people of Kwara State. He prayed for eternal peace of the soul of the deceased. Now, Information Minister Lai Mohammed has condoled with Governor of Kwara State, Abdurrahman Abdulrazak, and his family over the death of their patriarch, Abdul Ganiu Folonsho, SAN Abdulrazak. Now, in a statement by the Special Assistant to the President and the Media Office of the Minister, condolences were also extended to the Emir of Ilorin, Ibrahim Sulu Gambari, the Ilorin Emirate, as well as government and the people of Kwara State, calling on the family of the deceased to take solace in the fact that the late Abdulrazak lived a worthy and exemplary life. Like Mohammed said, he was not just a mere witness in the making of an independent Nigeria, but an active participant. His greatest achievement, the minister says, is the fact that he raised very successful children who also positively impact Nigeria in their various fields of endeavor. He lived long life enough to see His Excellency Governor Abdurrahman Abdulrazak elected and sworn in as the Governor of Kwara State is no doubt the crown of his incredible landmark achievement. Similarly, the All Progressives Congress governors said they have received a heavy heart, but with gratitude to Allah for a life well spent and blessed. The news of the death of Abdul Ganiu Folonsho Abdulrazak SAN, father of the governor of Kwara State, Abdurrahman Abdulrazak, the Progressives Governors Forum, in a statement by its chairman, Governor Abubakar Atiku Bagudu of Kebbi State, described the demise of the elder statesman as a loss to Nigeria progressive community and indeed the entire nation. The governor commiserated with Governor Abdurrahman Abdulrazak, the people and government of Kwara State and the nation on the loss. They prayed to the repose of the soul and the beloved father, Abdul Ganiu Folonsho Abdulrazak. And that concludes the news on NTA International News at 7. Do stay with NTA and stand against rape and rapists. I'm Abdul Malik Adio.